Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions. To the circle of infinite light, of infinite love shining infinitely. It feels like a really helpful thought to focus on what's infinite. Focus on happiness. What's happy? Identity is what happiness is. Just notice one thought of other, how you feel. The pushing out of the idea, the investment in a concept. He's just showing me everything is concept. The desire to live inside of a concept, which is really death. Trying to be alive in what's dead. Now that's an accomplishment. For what's already love itself, infinite, to stuff itself inside a little concept and go, that's me. Ask Jesus, is this actually possible? To live in a concept? What is a concept? It's a little constellation of thought. And you go, this is me. Jesus, do I desire concepts more than inner light? To define myself as a concept more than I would infinite? It's like we contemplate thought, objects, things. And assume that's what we are. Isn't that a big assumption? That's a jumbo assumption. That the things that we think have anything whatsoever to do with infinite. It's just, you start to notice how you're buying little tickets to hell all day. Just ask Jesus about it. Jesus. He says, am I buying little tickets to hell all day long? He says, every time you believe a concept about yourself, that's a ticket to hell. But it's that hell is a dream. Ask Jesus. Jesus says, hell a dream. Okay, give me another little slice of that hell pie and buy it into the no to infinite light. I'll have me some of that. Have me. I will have me. See, there's two. So we're going to dream. And then you ever notice that, like, how consciousness works? Just let's use pie, for instance, or cake. It doesn't matter. Cookies. And just notice, okay, you think of a cookie and then you just, oh, I need a cookie. And like the whole world becomes about a cookie. And I'll do anything to get a cookie. And see, like the lights, is the light objecting to wanting a cookie? But see the wanting. You want the want more than you want the cookie. It's the wanting. To make the wanting seem more powerful than the light itself, than infinite light. The itch for the cookie. Cookie itch. That's just an example. It's something in form, the desire to abdicate everything that's light to the cookie, the little cookies in consciousness. So we jump into the consciousness asteroid belt of thousands of cookies in there. And I want that. Oh, that's gonna, that I'm just gonna get on my little spaceship and fly over to that asteroid over on that side and explore that. That's the exploration of consciousness, to go where no man has ever gone before, because no man can go there. There isn't anyone going. You start to see these little word patterns in the light of divine being. No place to go. Light's already here. And then there's like the snooze button, the desire. Ask Jesus. Jesus, in the light of divine being and honesty of God, is denial the snooze button? The desire, is desire a big snooze button? When he's right, he's right. He's just right, always. He's always right. He says, no matter how hard you try, see in the light of divine being, you cannot make the concept you hold of yourself real, but you will keep trying. Because that's the play of consciousness. See, the light's not requiring anything, infinite light. It's just here already. Salvation's already come. Ask Jesus, is salvation already here? Is the light looking around, looking for different ones, certain ones to be booted out of heaven, some to keep in? That's the game of the haves and the have-nots. And just see that energy of the haves and the have-nots. Someone has something more than me or less than me. That's a desire to try and have more than God or less than God. He was showing me that energy, that little wanting more itch, more than God. That's the attempt to usurp the power of God, the wanting more, want to have more, want to have less. It's like automatic timeline. You can ask him, Jesus, is wanting more and less an automatic timeline? It's like, for the timeless, without it actually happening. It's good to be reminded by him that we're timeless. Timeless, infinite. And how we like to wander off into the valley of death. You can ask him, you just start to notice, Jesus, did I just wander off into the valley of death? And he'll go, yeah. But see that again, we've talked about how the valley of death, it's the shadow. The shadow is, you can ask him, Jesus, is the valley of the shadow of death, is it death or a shadow? And I love that, how he said, the best thing to do with the desert is to leave it. But Jesus, I want to stay in the death. I want the shadow. I want, all the arguments with them. It's hilarious. We're going to argue with Jesus. Now that's a real thought. Thought of arguing with infinite light. The one whose symbol in consciousness hung on a cross happy. That's the one we're going to argue with. But that's the humor of it all. I guess I gladly make the sacrifice of fear. I'm getting pictures of how, the Old Testament, and even, you look in the New Testament with Jesus. Okay, here are the Jewish people now, they're heading into the synagogue and they are carrying, you can see those lambs over their shoulders to go into sacrifice. And that belief in the appeasement of God. And the beauty of the Old versus the New Testament, the blood sacrifice, see the blood sacrifice? And you can see how that got translated within consciousness. Okay, so we're going to, instead of sacrificing a lamb, we're going to, quote unquote, have a savior come who pays the ultimate blood sacrifice. He said, see, that wasn't my intention of the interpretation. See, I saved you by sacrificing myself. He says that's still, see that's still a belief within consciousness regarding if the body dies, that's sacrifice and you can be saved. And he's saying, look with me to see that you're sacrificing yourself through fear. You're sacrificing the direct experience of infinite love through the belief that fear is love. So here he's saying, I gladly make the sacrifice, put the right thing on the altar, not the lamb, not casting the body on the altar, not continually to throw death on the altar, to throw fear, give that to the altar of infinite. And see if one fear you've ever had can last in the light of divine being. Any conjuring, that's what we're doing, we're conjuring. We might laugh about little Wiccan witches over the witch's brew and mixing it up and doing magic and casting spells. That's the entirety of consciousness. You can ask Jesus. Spell casting. Casting spells. We've cast a spell over ourselves. Jesus, so we choose to have an experience which we cast a spell over ourselves, that we can't break free of this ego thing. See that that's a desired experience to be in a trance. To be fighting inside the trance, to break out of the trance while wanting the trance. Does the light know what a trance is? Infinite, unchanging light know what a trance is? Jesus, is that trance just a big fat way to say no to God? To divine recognition that's already here? Okay. So he's saying, see what a sacrifice, you're sacrificing yourself. See that the crucifixion idea is that I can sacrifice myself and God will then take me. Oh God, that's funny. But it's a deep, Jesus said, it's funny when you see it. Until you don't see it, it's gonna hurt for sure. So he's saying, instead of trying to throw your body on the altar of death, thinking with the confusion that if I sacrifice myself, see, I have to sacrifice myself. Do you see how consciousness is trying to parallel consciousness in the interpretation of the crucifixion? If I sacrifice the body, I'll win heaven. So he's turning this, see, sacrifice, you're going to put something on the altar, put the concept of fear. See, we can ask him, Jesus, is fear a concept? Do I want to keep that concept? And once again, he reminds me, whenever you don't follow me, you want to keep the concept of fear. You're demanding it, actually. You're demanding God to give you fear when you don't follow. You're investing in the bank of fear by not following. You're true, because your identity doesn't know what fear is. It's not fearing following because it's just what is. It doesn't know what fear is. So when seemingly these ideas arise, when the Spirit's giving us, trying to communicate, open up the channel, and then we're saying, no, the becauses. It's like a little because factory, all the reasons why we can't, when really, as Jesus is retranslating for us, all the reasons we will not, we choose not to. So when the Spirit tells us something and we say we can't, it's saying, I choose not to be who I am. And then it's kerfuffle described in all the can'ts and the won'ts and the shouldn'ts, and God's going to, and I'm going to die in a future. And that's why first it's essential. I'm asking Jesus, is this essential? Yes. It's essential that you say no to those voices and do what he asks. I said, I'm asking him, can transcendence occur without this? No. Because you need to see, he says, where you're investing in the bank of weakness directly. You need to look at that directly, where you're investing in the bank of the no to yourself. And where you're investing in me, investing in the divine love that you are. Here is the only quote unquote sacrifice you ask of your beloved Son. You ask him to give up all suffering. And that's really the question, isn't it? To ask Jesus, am I willing to give up all suffering? And just be with honesty of God and just see if there's any unwillingness. See, he's showing us where the unwillingness is. But it's honesty of God because it's just a play of consciousness to want sacrifice of love. I get love by bringing a little baby lamb to be chopped into bits. You know, I get, but see that it's no different. I bring my body to be chopped into bits. and have that experience. And then I can win. And I can, if I'm hung on the cross, if I hang myself on the cross, it's like Opus Dei. The organ, where there's a belief that if I sacrifice, someone mentioned Mother Teresa to me, her belief was we are called to sacrifice. Jesus wants sacrifice. Let's talk to Jesus directly so we can lay this little puppy to rest. Jesus, in the light of divine being and honesty of God, under any circumstance, does God call for sacrifice? Only the sacrifice he's asking for today, and that is the sacrifice of the idea of fear. He's calling. Jesus says, I call to you to lay the idea of the of fear and place this idea, this concept on the altar of God. And ask me, Jesus, do I have a desire for the experience of fear, to deny myself as a divine being? And if he tells you yes, then just okay, you're right, I do. Once again. You remember like St. Peter as they're hauling Jesus away? He says, before the cock crows 3 times, you will deny me. Peter goes, oh no, Lord. See, that's honesty of God is Jesus, you're right. Before the cock crow 3 times, I will deny you. Now, he learned it after he saw it, and sometimes it has to play in consciousness like this. Ask Jesus. Yes, okay, it'll play. And did Jesus hold anything? No, Jesus loved him still, just like he loves us now. Because as I've noticed here, I denied Jesus before the cock crowed. I probably wedged in 100 billion ways to say no, not admit I knew my Lord, because that's the play in consciousness. It's say no, and no to that, and no to that too, and your little brother too. It's like, no. But until we say the no, till we see it and he shows it to us, we don't even know what we're saying no to anymore. It's just a no. It's just, I don't like that. I don't want this. This isn't good. This is bad. Something terrible is going to happen. Do you see how consciousness that just tosses out this diversity of types and forms and shapes and no's and and pretends every bit of it is crucial to survival. It's hilarious. We're adorable. We're loved anyway by God, thankfully. You ask him to give up all suffering. So God's asking, well, God doesn't, but through the expression of superconsciousness, it's our true self asking us, isn't it time? Could this be a good time right here now? Jesus, is this the most powerful use of time? To go to lay the idea, the concept that fear is love, right there in the light of divine being. And you can ask Jesus, do I have the infinite power for this? And hear him tell you yes. Now then you ask him the question, okay, Jesus, am I willing? Because he's going to know, right? He knows where the bones are buried. Am I willing to place the desire for the experience of fear into the light of truth, to sacrifice that on the altar of God? Or do I prefer to keep it and keep the whole world in play? That's okay. If he tells you no, you don't want to, then at least we know. That's honesty of God. It's innocence. Just ask him, Jesus, if you show me that I still want to hold on to fear, are you still going to help me? So he'll tell you it's his function. He'll also say this need not be. It's just a piece of personal identity. Fear is a chunk of personal identity that's being held on to rather than placed on the altar of truth. You ask him to give up all suffering, okay, all sense of loss and sadness. Jesus, is it completely within my divine power as an infinite being to give up all loss and sadness? Jesus, is there a desire below my level of awareness not to give up all sadness and loss? And will you help me to place that on the altar, to sacrifice that rather than my divine recognition, than the recognition of identity? And this is that deep honesty of God, having him tell us where we're saying no. Because the ego can pretend it's looking at what's saying no. And I'm saying no to this, and I'm staying. But notice how that's an immediate movement into the story. I need to give up this and that. And it just it'll float right up here rather than having the surgeon go in and say, let me tell you what you need to see right here, right now. I said, Jesus, do we need surgery? He says desperately. He says, but this surgery doesn't hurt at all. What's hurting is refusing the help that's being given, for the direct pointing to where personal identity is being held on to with bony fingers of death, his favorite line. The bony fingers of the dead. He's so right. He says, well, that works in consciousness, because until you truly see it as it is, you can't see what you're denying. Like, to see that it's the bony fingers, because the play in consciousness is to see that death is heaven. Insist on it and then complain about it. And ask God, who stole my cheese? You know that little corporate program, Who Stole My Cheese? Have you heard this one? It's actually a kind of helpful program, because it's all about foisting blame on someone, right? Who stole my God cheese? Who took away the sun, all the light within me? So until we really look with Jesus and see, oh, all right, I just, that word, cut my nose off to spite my face, who chose it? Who's choosing the no? But he's willing to show us where we want to hang on a sense of all sense of loss and sadness. Am I unwilling to put that on the altar and see that it's not true Jesus? Okay, if I'm not willing now, okay, not doing that now is the desire for timeline. Ask him, Jesus is, so if I don't 100% give 100% all sadness to you now, am I like itching for a timeline? One little minute on that sadness, okay? Look. We're going to negotiate with the one who knows. He says, I'm used to it, but it doesn't mean I agree with it. He says, your happiness depends that I do not agree with you on that point. Thank you, Jesus. Okay, let's look at the desire for all anxiety and doubt. Jesus, do I have a desire for experience of anxiety and doubt about who I am? Okay. And am I willing to place the desire for anxiety and doubt on the altar? Just be honest. He'll tell you for sure if you want it. He'll just smoke with that for a while. But it's good because you can see that you really want it. You want anxiety, not you. Consciousness is playing that way. It's playing to hang on to doubt about identity. How else could it have a timeline? The timeless doesn't have a timeline. Let's see the infinite light. Let's look in light. Does the light have an infinite time? Has a timeline in there? You know, it's good to be reminded that the timeless nature of being doesn't have a watch on it. It doesn't know what time is. Is the infinite light of being know what time is? Therefore, you don't know what it is either. That's one of the ego's most closely held little, you know, it's little gummies. I'm going to keep that one, that I have time. Is all anxiety and doubt time? Asked Jesus. Time for death, he says, time for death. Okay, all right. Will you help me see through the desire to keep anxiety and doubt about my identity? He says you're always going to feel anxious if you're keeping doubt alive. You'll always feel anxious when you doubt your identity. See that, does the infinite light of being have any anxiety in there? It doesn't. It's unknown. Anxiety is unknown to you, but doubt is a desired experience to split in two and then try to staple the two together. It's too late. You have to see the desire for the doubt, the desire for the experience of doubt about identity going like this. See, instead of spending time in the kerfuffle of hunting to try to stick two things together, which is the symbol and form of beings coming together to make love. See, trying to find love in form. He's going, look at the desire to split. The desire for the experience, the wanting of, and then it manifests through desire to split. It manifests as doubt and sadness and all anxiety and doubt, and freely let your love come streaming into his awareness. Freely let. Do you see that allowance? Allow love, the welcoming of infinite love. Welcome it. Ask Jesus, do we need to welcome love? Healing him of pain and giving him your own eternal joy. Own eternal joy. He said, contemplate this joy. Contemplate joy. Who's ever contemplated joy? Well, not the ego, because it's so used to contemplating hell. Contemplate joy. Wow. Infinite joy. Contemplate that. He says you don't really have to contemplate it that you are that. But within consciousness, it's helpful to contemplate it so you can see that you are that. There isn't anything other than that. How many moments a day? That's a good one. That's for me for sure. How many moments a day do we contemplate abject joy? He said that will grow as you give up these desires. It'll be natural to you. And giving him your own eternal joy. Let's ask the light. Let's ask this great love within us. Is joy already here? Is joy already here? Infinite, unchanging joy. It has to be. He says it's who you are. Ask in the light of divine being, is joy anywhere else? Is it outside me? Ask Jesus, no. Can anything in form bring me joy? How can something in form bring something to what you already are? See, that's the whole idea. That something in form can enhance what you already are. It's immediate death, he says, immediate wanting. As soon as you're into wanting, you're in the death march. So you just don't follow it out of joy. Don't follow the death march, just because the parade of death's going by, you have to jump in and start marching it, he says. That's the assumption, because that's the play in consciousness, the assumption that we got to join the parade of death. No, he's saying, see that you're more powerful. Don't jump into that parade march. You're infinite light. Is infinite light getting in a death parade? The death parade. We're gonna laugh. I'm telling the joining sessions get funnier and funnier, every one of them, because you just start seeing it all. And he's saying, let it be light. Laugh. See it for what it is. When you see it for what it is, he said, you're gonna laugh. And you don't have to be so concerned. You can just laugh with me. In giving your own eternal joy, such is the sacrifice you ask of me, and one I gladly make. Just see, when he even talks about giving up fear, how you feel. Just even one thought of giving over fear to the light. Just see how you feel. One thought of, no. Maybe we can be in honesty of God. God, I really want to give fear over. See, the ego uses fear for so much specialness. See me, I'm special. That is what, ask Jesus. Is fear. It's not to judge it, okay? He doesn't judge it. We're just and it's see no error. But until we see it for ourselves, like right here, right on home plate. We're searching the bases. No, he says, stay on home plate and look at it right here with me. See, when God asks you to give fear over, is to sacrifice fear, and see how you feel about it. In honesty of God, like, what will I be without fear? You could just feel the energy of that. Just be with it. He says, it's not going to hurt you. Just see how much you want it. That's all he's saying. Everybody's like smoke rocks. But we can see it together. We just, how much we want fear as experience. That's good. He says, it's good. Look at it directly. That'll release the energy that you're holding of wanting it. So I can show you that's nothing, that you're confusing. The reason why you're trying to keep it is because you want to find salvation in it, so you don't see that you're light. Jesus, do I want to find salvation in fear? Tell me true. I'm going to see it. This will clean a lot of closets out right there. Oh gosh. One I gladly make, the only cost of restoration of your memory. This is the cost. See how the ego goes, it's going to cost me something to give up fear. Let's ask Jesus. This is a really good one. Jesus, you already know the answer. Okay. Jesus, is there a belief, a desired experience that giving up fear has a cost to it? Okay. Can I ask for a miracle around the cost to give up fear? He says, spend some time with me on how you believe it's a cost to give up fear. Oh, that's a good one for joining. That board could light up today, because when you look through this, it's going to take you really. He's going, yes. Look directly how you believe it's a cost to give up fear. That's what you believe you're sacrificing, is fear. And see how much personal identity is in that play of the desire to experience fear, not to look directly. When you, the only cost of restoration of your memory to me for the salvation of the world. Now he's kind of direct here, but fear. That's really direct. Get this lesson. Jesus, in the light of divine being and honesty of God, will you help us get this lesson fully? He says the kingdom of heaven, your recognition of it depends on this. And as we pay the debt we owe to truth, this is the only debt worth paying. See, we thought debt was something else. A debt that merely is the letting go of self-deceptions and of images we worship falsely. Let's ask him. Jesus' fear of false image. He says you bow down to fear all the time and honor it and cherish it. Unless you're supremely happy, you're bowing down to fear. I'm asking him, yes. We know this. You're honoring at the altar of fear and death. Unless you look, and then you see it's impossible that the light doesn't know what it is. You don't know what it is. In truth, Jesus, do I even know what fear it is? It's a concept. It's a concept. It's part of the self-concept. A debt that merely is the letting go of the self-deception as in of images we worship falsely. Truth returns to us in wholeness and in joy. We are deceived no longer. So we just ask them, is fear self-deception? Love has now returned to our awareness, and we are at peace again, for fear has gone and only love remains. Amen. There's the team.